Right, so welcome to the listening library. I'll bring you in, see if I can do this. Here we are, this is us. So this is the project room. This is where we test stuff and, well, just hang out and listen to music. But I'm going to swing you around and give you a bit of a guided tour. So there's all sorts of things on the shelf at the moment, things to do. This is what we're going to talk about in a minute. But there's the venerable LP12 down there, Quicksilver stereo power amp, lots of goodies down there, like lots of vintage tubes, and I'll talk all about those at some point. There's a monoblock there, another VTL monoblock 125. This is a little Australian-made hybrid preamp. It's quite an interesting piece of equipment. The Metrum NOS DAC, that's a lovely piece of kit. Some Kiwi-made speakers there, and then the big Titan Manitous. Those are really interesting. They've actually got two bass drivers, one stacked up behind the other inside. There's a nice project turntable there with a Hanna MC cartridge that we're trialing at the moment, and the wee Phono Tube Pre. That's a lovely piece of equipment. It's really versatile. And then another VTL Pre, so that's the Super Deluxe. I'll talk to you about that a little bit. And then the beautiful VAC PA 8080. There's a Q-test on the floor and all sorts of other goodies. This is a really interesting piece of kit. We'll talk about that at some point. That's a Butler power amp. That's a really interesting hybrid power amp that's suffering a little bit at the moment. That's the other monoblock there. These monoblocks need tubes refitting, so that's another project that we can look into. But this is what I want to have a look at today. So this is the VTL 2.5. So this is sort of the part of the new generation, I guess, after the son took over the business. So David Manley did all the early stuff, the Deluxe over there, the Super Deluxe, and various others. And then after that, I think his son, I think his name's Jason, he took over and did things a bit differently. Just have a quick look at the sort of functionality of it, and I do think it is functional. It's why it's been such a mainstay in my main system in the lounge, because of how versatile it is. So you've got heaps of inputs, you've got a facility for home theatre if you want to, and you've got your tape out, remote control volume and remote mute as well. And it's got a soft start on the power up. The remote control is really awful to look at and to hold, but it does work. I couldn't say fairer than that, really. It's one of my pet hates. Most of the gear that we have has pretty poor remotes, with the exception of a beautiful the Sonic Frontiers Pre, which has got a fantastic remote control, which I wish others would learn from. Pretty much as you see on the back. So this is a line stage only, so we've just got an auxiliary in there, but it's on the front side it is labeled phono, so that's nice. I can just put a external phono stage through. All of the inputs, tape inputs and outputs, the home theatre input, and the two outputs. So it's a really tidy little package. I really like it. It's nice and versatile for what I need it for. I really like having a remote volume. I like having a remote mute. And all of the functions. Not too sure about the shape of this volume knob, but I'll handle it. All of the components and controls feel really nice. There's a center notch on the balance control, and just really nice positive controls. So I like it very much. I really like how it sounds. It doesn't sound as good as that, and we'll look at that in a second. But it's certainly, like I said, because of how useful it is and how versatile it is, it's been the mainstay of my lounge system. I've already taken out the 20 odd screws that hold the lid down, and this is what you get inside. So really the big swap over from when the son took over from the old man was just to tidy everything up, and he went to the PCB mounted components. It is all really tidy. I do really like the way it looks in there, and everything's just clean and crisp and purposeful. So you've got the input tubes, the 12AU7s, and then the output tubes, what are they, 12AT7s I think, or probably, can't remember now. Yeah, 12AT7s. And these are vintage tubes. If you haven't tried vintage tubes yet, I really recommend it. Yeah, contemporary tubes sound distinctly solid state by comparison. It really is quite a game changer. You get a wonderful sense of reality and three-dimensionalism with vintage tubes. So the great thing about having the extra buffer stage here is it drops the impedance down to a level that's compatible with most solid state power amps, if that's your thing. In our world, most of the power amps are tube amps, and that's why something like this is absolutely glorious. It actually allows you to bypass that final stage. So this is one of the early models designed and built by the old man, and it's functional enough. It has got, yeah, it's still got the center notch on the balance control. It's pretty simple. This one does come with a phono stage. It's got some pretty nice inputs there. These look like, whoops, silver plated or something on the back here. But this is really the interesting, excuse the dust, it hasn't been used in a while. So this is lovely. This is so using this output here, it's going, so it's the signal tubes only, and so the impedance is quite high. It's sort of several hundred ohms, but the tube amps work fine with that, and it really is, well, I personally I think it sounds absolutely glorious, and much more so. Now also with this one, that output stage is a single tube, so it's shared. These are the two primaries, and these two here, the AX7s for the phono stage. So you can see very little mounted on well, essentially not really so much a PCB as just a, I suppose it still is, but brutally simple, and really nice to look at, and really just clean and crisp. Now that's not to say that they're all like this, and they're not. In fact, old man Manley was I think quite famous for pretty much building amps with whatever components he happened to have in the workshop at the time. So this is a really splendid example of something that's been beautifully put together and not fettered with. The deluxe over there looks like it was built on a Friday afternoon. I haven't got the lid screwed on at the moment, but we'll have a look at that at some point. And by comparison, it's just quite a mess in there. But so it gives you an idea of what's going on there. Why these sound so different, I do not know. This really is in a league of its own. I think it's an absolutely sublime sounding preamp. There's nothing wrong with this at all. It sounds great, and it does sound tubey, but not in the same league at all. But it makes up for it with these fantastic features. And again, for me, the remote control is pretty important. That's about all I have to say about that. If you've got any questions, just let me know, and if there's anything you want me to talk about, let me know as well. Just you've seen a few of the bits and pieces here in the studio, and there's plenty more to look at, so we'll just keep putting out some videos and showing you what's going on.